Hello, you are watching the Le Nouvel Esprit video series on theology of the body. We are discussing this video audience 9. We are your hosts, Jeremy Hossauter.
And Guillermo Moreno.
So, audience 9, we're continuing our analysis of the meaning of original unity. Original unity, again, is one of the foundational experiences of man that JP2 is drawing our attention to. The previous experience we spent some time exploring was original solitude. Now we're talking about original unity. All right. So we need to observe a the two principles of unity and duality. So the creation of male and female in Genesis 2 is has a unity to it because male and female together is the definitive creation of man. So the creation of man, so we could say the definitive creation of man consists of the creation of this unity of male and female. And this unity is the identity in human nature. Right? Man and woman are the same type of being. They're both human persons. Or if you want to use the Aristotelian terminology, rational animals. But there's also duality. On the basis of this identity of both being human persons, the duality is that the man is masculine, the female is feminine. And this then leads us to a axiological meaning. So this unity and duality has axiological meaning. Axiological or axiology means the study of nature, the study of the nature of value and valuation, and of the kinds of things that are valuable. This is a definition from the Oxford Dictionary. Okay, so these principles of unity and duality says something about the value of the human person, about the value of being male and the value of being female.
Mm.
So man is created to have a particular value for God and for man. So there's a particular value of where man's a value for himself, then and then being a value like male is a value for female, female is a value for male.
Could we say, you can express so in the Oxford Dictionary of the definition of axiology? What I wanted to ask is if this duality makes the man valuable for the woman and vice versa.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, man is a value for a woman, and woman's a value for a man, or as you said,
Why do I
valuable.
why do I hear a distinction between value and valuable?
Um, right. So I guess we'd have to think about valuable. I guess to me, when we say value, I would say you're indicating the ontological property of the thing. You're saying something about the being of the thing being discussed. When you, to me, it seems like when you say valuable, to me, there's a sort of evaluation performed. You're saying this thing is valuable to me or for me.
In other words, this means something to me, or someone is meaningful to me in a particular way. Now, the
Yeah,
relationship between the sexes, that's what we mean by value,
I
that
guess
this is meaningful in this respect
I think
because of our duality.
I think what I want to emphasize is um this distinction between I guess a relative understanding versus a metaphysical understanding. Okay. So the man metaphysically and the woman metaphysically have a value at in being male and in being female. There's a metaphysical fact though of having this value. And because man and woman have this value, then when we talk about the relation of male to female, male or male to female and female to male, the male becomes a value for the female and the female a value for the male. So there's that relational element and that metaphysical element that, while being distinguished, are going to be unified on the basis of the same humanity and the fact that male and female are a helper fit for each other. So that's where you get the unity and the duality. Still there, Guillermo?
Oh, yes.
I was just curious since you're silent.
Yeah, I had nothing to add to that.
uh, that's fine. Yeah, no, that is I'm glad you mentioned that because I was thinking about it in my head as I was talking about it and emphasizing value. And then you're like, well, why are you using valuable? So no, that's a good
Excellent.
clarifying
Yeah,
question.
excellent.
Let's see here. All right, let's move on to the next slide. All right, communio personarum. I feel like I just butchered that.
No, you said it good.
All right, we'll find out if someone leaves an angry YouTube comment or something. All right, let's see here. So the meaning of original unity is the overcoming of original solitude through our masculinity and femininity. This overcoming is through the establishment of a communion of persons, or in Latin, communio personarum. So the solitude of the first man led to the unity of humanity as male and female, right? Man in the garden has the first test and he discovers he's alone. And then so he has this consciousness of being alone, there not being a helper fit for him. So then God caused torpor, that heavy deep sleep, and man, or I should say humanity, emerges from torpor as male and female. You have man and woman now. And so original solitude leads to this unity as a communion of persons. The man, let's see here. This distinction between man and animalia leads to a transcendence that's proper to personhood. Because man is not like since man's not like an animal, there's something about him that is more. And so, in the discovery of woman, man finds a helper fit for him and he can enter into this communion of persons. And through that, he can discover his transcendence. We're going to leave aside this term transcendence and come
Yeah.
back to it because it's going to be a major theme later
Uh-huh.
on. And this, and here JP2 just kind of briefly mentions it. But I think it's a good thing to start thinking about the transcendence of man through this communion of persons. So the concept of a helper fit for man implies this concept of communion. The human person exists for persons. We are created for persons. Right? God said it is not good for man to be alone. That lack of good indicates the need for the existence of another person. Right? So this communion is going to be based on the double solitude of the man and woman from animals, from animalia. It's a double solitude. Let's see. I lost my train of thought for a moment. Did you have anything you wanted to add, Guillermo?
Then no, I did not.
Okay.
No, as you mentioned in our previous episode, that I alluded to something that was going to be in this one.
Right. Yeah, no, this concept of double solitude,
Yes.
you mentioned it in the last episode. Yeah. Let's see here. I guess one last thing to note about this is the concept of a help implies reciprocity. The man is a help for the woman's a help for the man, and no other living being can fulfill this function of being a help for the human person. Only a human person can fulfill this being a helper. And in particular, a man cannot be a helper for a man in the sense of Genesis 2, or a woman be a help for a woman in this sense. Yeah. Imago Dei, Latin for image of God. So Genesis, oh, you have something to say?
Yeah, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Um, at this point in the slide, in which paragraph are we in audience 9?
Um,
Or just generally, this is what it refers to.
okay. Imago Dei, this slide is going to refer to 9.3.
9 point what?
9.3.
Okay.
Yep. Now, let's see here. I would say in general, the slides are, roughly speaking, one slide a paragraph,
Cool.
following the numbering inside the book.
Yes.
But that's roughly, it varies. But that's about generally what it turns out to be. All right. So in Genesis 1, we have this revelation that man is imago Dei, made in the image and likeness of God. And Genesis 2 reveals the complete definitive creation of man as expressed in the communion of persons that's formed by being male and female. Now, man becomes the image of God through his humanity. The fact that we are all human persons means that we are all made in image and likeness of God. But JP2 does not stop there with this kind of ontological or metaphysical understanding. He adds on to it with this more, I guess it's metaphysical, but it's also a sort of phenomenological relational view. It's certainly a development that man becomes image through the communion of persons. So if we recall, like the image functions as a mirroring of the model. So man as an image he becomes an image through this original unity, through this establishment of the community of persons. What's, I think, more radical, or I guess I should say surprising, is that JP2 will go on to say that we more so image God in the communion of persons, because this communion images the inner life of the three persons of the Holy Trinity. And that right there is a very kind of shockingly profound thing to say, that the man and the woman in marriage images the life of the three persons. We haven't used the term marriage yet, but when JP2 introduces it, that is precisely the communion of persons.
In other words, when God said, let us make man in our image, and man incorporating men and women, then, but in God's image, God being a communion of persons is reflected in our creation due to our differences as male and female.
Yeah.
And that difference, well, okay, it's manifested in a particular way, as you pointed out, in the sacrament of marriage, in the conjugal act. So it's in the conjugal act, that which in where we engage in giving of ourselves with the faculties of our sexuality, that in a particular way, that communion of persons images, what comes to my mind wording it is the love of God, and God is love.
Yeah. Yeah. I think just one thing to add on to this is JP2 uses the term essentially. This communion of persons essentially images the life of the Trinity. All right. Thank you for those comments, Guillermo.
Yeah.
Let's see. Flesh of my flesh. So let's see. Flesh makes the woman visible, identifiable. The flesh of the woman manifests woman. As we recall before, the body reveals the human person. The body reveals that, yes, reveals authentic, I guess, this ability of the body to reveal man means that the body is something authentically human, and it so authentically human, it determines man to be a being similar to God. I think one thing that always struck me when I read the Divine Comedy, Dante's epic kind of theological journey through heaven, hell, and purgatory, is that when Dante gets to the view, the beatific vision, and he sees God, inside the, the staring at the inner life of the Trinity, he sees the human face. There's just something there about humanity as the image that corresponds to the life of the Trinity. And Dante put it in such a beautiful way in his Paradiso, that there's something in the body with that. So there, Guillermo?
Yes, I am.
Did you have anything you want to add about flesh of my flesh?
No, it just really recalls to what Adam said in that same breath, for lack of other words, bone of my bones.
Right. Yeah. Flesh, my flesh, bone of my bones. Masculinity and femininity. Yeah. So I guess just something to note briefly is whenever JP2 uses the term sex, he's referring to masculinity and femininity. It does not refer to intercourse. JP2 will use the phrase conjugal act to refer to intercourse. With that said, we can develop some final points of this audience. So the theology of the body implies a theology of masculinity and femininity. And the unity of the body, JP2 is going to define as the conjugal act. So the conjugal act is the unity of the body. And that's this experience of original unity that we are talking about. He's talking about the conjugal act. So as Guillermo said a few minutes ago, the conjugal act itself images the life of the Trinity. And that itself is a very crazy thing to say about sex, especially given how people treat it in such a trivial manner today. That's an astounding proposition in of itself. Let's see. So, and then just a couple points that JP2, I guess, just wants to re-emphasize from previous audiences, including the last one. The masculinity and femininity, it expresses the same somatic constitution, but it's also a new consciousness, a new awareness of the meaning of the body as reciprocal enrichment. It's the masculinity and femininity is a reciprocal enrichment of male and female. The female in her body is it's an enrichment of the man, and likewise the male's body enrichment for the female. Man and woman are a reciprocal mutual enrichment. And then there's kind of a foreshadowing for a future is JP2 says that male and female through this new consciousness and awareness of the body leads to an inalienable norm that is a moral norm, an ought. He doesn't say what it is. That's why I said it's foreshadowing. We'll have to wait and see what this inalienable norm is. All right. Anything you want to add on, Guillermo?
I do, but I'd be jumping the gun all the way to part 2 of the theology of the body, the sacrament.
Okay. So
Yeah,
you really,
so yeah, I'd
yeah,
rather wait until then. And
yeah.
that would be yeah, for our curious audiences, that would be around audience number 87.
You really want to jump the gun? You want
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
70 audiences on this?
Yeah.
I'm just speaking roughly, of course.
No, it's exciting. And
Yeah.
whoa, it does in retrospect. Certainly I've read the theology of the body before.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder, oh wow, what is all these 70 audiences? What's in between what we're talking about now and what I have in mind,
Right.
what Guillermo has in mind way later? There's a lot. And
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
I look forward to it. Can't wait.
just just being 9 audiences in, I'm
Sure.
sure that
Yeah,
our
well, yeah,
listeners are like, how much did he pack into like 2 pages?
yeah,
It's kind of insane.
absolutely.
It's also remarkable because it speaks to the profundity of both just the first 3 chapters of Genesis and JP2's mind.
Mm-hmm.
It also, in some ways, speaks to the profundity of Matthew 19 because this whole thing started essentially as a commentary on that. because Christ appealed to the beginning 2 times, and James 2 said, okay, time to find out what is the meaning of the beginning. It's amazing how
It
deep
is.
the Bible is.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like the image of C.S. Lewis about how Christianity is something that you can wade into and just get your feet wet, or it can be an ocean where you just swim endlessly.
That is a beautiful not analogy. What's the word I'm looking for? Description, honestly.
Yeah, yeah. I always been impressed by that imagery. Thank you for watching our video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please support us on Patreon. Your financial support goes towards our website and our purchase of material so we can perform great content for you like this video series. Check out our website, it has a lot of cool articles and also our cool podcasts. You can find our podcasts. I don't know where at Guillermo. It's our podcast. I forget
Our
these.
Yes, our podcast is on Buzzsprout. You can find the links to the Buzzsprout on our website, and Buzzsprout excuse me, provides the links to the other platforms where you could find our podcast series for the Nouvel Esprit. And those platforms include Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music. And there's about a dozen others.
Yeah, essentially, if you are using some sort of podcast app, the odds are we are there, given
Yep.
that we're probably on like 20 different podcast websites. All right. If there's nothing else, I guess I'll just say goodbye.
Yes, and please keep us in your prayers.
Oh yeah, there's that. Please pray
Yep.
for us.
Yep. All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. God bless.
All right, yep. Goodbye, y'all.